Alrighty, friends. Happy Friday. Welcome to week 4 of Build Resilience to Manage Stress. I am Shannon Parks, your on-site Cigna nutrition coach, and I am so happy to be here with you, teaching you how to build resilience just to manage your stress in every other part of our life, right? Let's dive in and see what we're going to talk about this week. So as you know, we've been meeting on Fridays for about a half hour from 12:30 to 1. This is week 4. So today we're going to be talking about physical activity and stress reduction, which I'm super excited about. So we'll go ahead and get started with that right now. I just absolutely love this little image here. I wish I could outsource my exercise, right? Like sometimes I have definitely felt that way, that it would be so much easier if I could just pay somebody to work out for me. But physical activity is not only good for our physical health, as we know, it's also good for our mental health. Interestingly enough, a study found in 2018 that 25% of adults did not participate in any leisure time physical activity. Back in 2014, an additional study found that a quarter of US adults 50 years old and older were physically inactive. About 53% of adults met the physical activity guidelines for aerobic physical activity, which means 47% did not. And a study was showing that the percentage of adults aged 18 and over who did meet the activity guidelines for both aerobic and muscle strengthening activity was only 23%. So less than 1 in 4 people actually met the activity guidelines through their week. So I wanted to talk about the benefits of physical activity. I think a lot of us have heard these over the course of our life, but it's always good to touch on these things and remind ourselves that there is both a physical and a mental benefit when it comes to exercise. So some of the physical benefits include it helping to build and maintain healthy bones, muscles, and joints. This is particularly important as we age, right? We get into that age range of osteopenia, osteoporosis, brittle bones, bone fractures, and things like that. A lot of people don't realize when we're doing muscle strengthening activity, we are also strengthening the bones. The muscles pull on the tendons pull on the bones, therefore exercise helps to strengthen the bones. It also helps control weight, which some of us I know are still trying to get off the COVID weight. And so exercise, physical activity is really, really good for that. It can help improve your immune system, which is a great benefit, especially going into cold and flu season and battling with COVID over the last couple of years during the pandemic. It helps to maintain our mobility and strength. I have realized I was a lot more physically flexible when I was a kid than I am now, and having to work on the mobility piece and maintaining the strength, right? So that when we get older, we're not one of those individuals who falls and can't get up. We want to be able to have mobility so that we can move and age healthy. It also helps to reduce the risk of heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, and colon cancer. Now let's talk about the mental benefits. This would not be a resilience class if we did not talk about the mental benefit of physical activity. So some of the mental benefits, it reduces stress and tension, right? It's such a good way to exert some of that stress out. It also has been shown to reduce depression and anxiety. It boosts our mood, and it increases pleasurable feelings such as revitalization, tranquility, and vigor. I don't know about you guys, but if anybody in here is like me, after a good workout or spending some time, doing some physical activity outside, I feel so much less stressed, so much more renewed, and just ready to take on whatever is in front of me. So when it comes to physical activity, a lot of people ask me, what do I do? How do I do it? What does it look like for me to do that? And so I wanted to review that with you. There are 4 main kinds of physical activity, as you can see on the screen. We've got aerobic exercise, anaerobic exercise, flexibility training, and active rest. And we're going to go over each of those because when it comes to physical activity, there really is no one magic exercise that works for everybody. And on top of that, the things that I enjoy to do, like yoga or cycling, may not be the things that you like to do. You know, somebody maybe out there loves like CrossFit workouts. That's not really my jam. Other people like to play in the park with their children or be a part of the walking group that I have on Thursday mornings. And for other folks, that's not really their jam. And so, you know, considering that each person enjoys different types of activities, and depending on your health, certain activities may be better for you than others. And then again, for women who are in the menstruation age, the different phases of the cycle can affect what kind of physical activity feels best. And so I find a lot of people become very regimented or structured in thinking that exercise should only look one way, right? Like it's got to be me in the gym 5 days a week for at least an hour, when we can actually relax off of that a little bit and have some flexibility in what feels good for physical activity. So let's go through the 4 types together. We've got aerobic exercise. So this is a type of continuous movement that uses the large muscle groups in your body. The aim is for it to raise your heart rate to 60 to 80% of its maximum rate for an extended length of time. So I'm going to go ahead and type into the chat right now the formula to calculate your max heart rate. It's going to be 220 minus your age equals whatever number it gives you. And then you're going to multiply that by 0.6 for 60%, or multiply it by 0.8 for 80%. And that's going to help you find your max heart rate or where you should be for aerobic exercise. Now, if you are somebody who has a cardiovascular health condition or something of that nature, please double check with your doctor. Of course, really that's a rule of thumb for everybody. And check with your doctor before you complete any exercise or start a new exercise program, just to make sure that it's safe for you. But going on with aerobic exercise, the whole benefit is cardiovascular strength, stamina, and burning body fat. Some examples of this might be like skating, biking, dancing, kickboxing, or even running. So if you enjoy any of those things, those are excellent forms of aerobic exercise. Anaerobic exercise, this is also, Michelle, thank you. It is 220 minus your age. I goofed up on our calculation. So it's 220 minus your age, which will give you a number, and then multiply that by 0.6 for 60% or 0.8 for 80%. So anaerobic exercise, the other term for this is strength training or resistance training. So this type of activity consists of short bursts of muscle exertion followed by periods of rest. So that might be like going into the gym and, you know, doing 10 or 15 bicep curls and then having a rest for 30 to 60 seconds. Benefits of anaerobic exercise or strength training include increased strength and stamina, more muscular body that not only looks better, right, aesthetically, but also burns more calories. And some examples of this type of exercise include using free weights, using the resistance machines at the gym, using resistance bands or tubing, and calisthenics like sit-ups, push-ups, squats that include full body movements. Moving on from that, let's talk about flexibility training. So flexibility training is a type of activity that helps relax muscle tension and promote flexibility. So you see on the screen, we've got this woman doing yoga. That's a great example of flexibility training. It reduces stress on our muscles and joints, and it helps to prevent or slow arthritis, maintain a good range of motion, and reduce risk of injury. Some examples of this are like Tai Chi, yoga, or Pilates. And then last but not least, one of my favorite things is active rest. So active rest can be done on days where you're not necessarily working out. You don't have a set workout that you're going to do. it still provides a lot of health benefits and stress reduction benefits. And examples of this are going to include like walking, gardening, mowing the lawn, cleaning the house, or washing the car. I do want to add in a little side note here because I understand that a lot of people use walking for exercise. When we're walking for exercise, the goal is going to be to have it at a moderate intensity. And so what I mean by that is if you're thinking about a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is a leisurely stroll in the park and 10 might be like a boot camp workout class, you want to find yourself somewhere in that sweet spot of 5, 6, or maybe even 7. So you should be kind of huffing when you're walking, or doing, active rest type activity, but kind of huffing and puffing a little bit, able to maintain conversation without feeling too winded and we're starting to sweat. If you feel like it's, less than a 5, then maybe walk a little bit faster. If you feel like you're at a 10, then take it back a little bit. I just love the Awkward Yeti. Do I have any other fans in here of the Awkward Yeti? I love this little cartoon. We've got the lungs here. The one said he's got a little note, "Hi mom," from Lung, and the lung says, "I see a light. Should I go into the light? I'm going into the light." And the other lung says, "Give this note to my mom." And you see the brain says, "We haven't even started exercising yet." And meanwhile, the heart is complaining, "Yeah, but we parked pretty far away." I absolutely love the Awkward Yeti. I think he captures things just so well when it comes to exercise, and this one made me really laugh. So how do we get started with exercise? I mean, let's face it, right? Getting started is not easy, especially when it's a new routine, a new type of activity, no matter how important we know that it is. It can be hard to find time in our busy schedules, between work and other obligations that we have, or if you have children or family. And it makes it hard to start and maintain habits just that much more challenging. So if you're considering starting a new exercise habit to help with stress, maybe you're going to find some of these tips um, to be useful for you. So the first one is to just set simple goals. One of the easiest ways to stay active is to make a commitment to a set amount of time for physical activity daily. Choose activities that you enjoy and start with just 5 to 10 minutes. And then, eventually you'll feel comfortable adding more time. Maybe you took a 10-minute walk after lunch or dinner, or maybe you park your car in the back of the parking lot to get more steps in, or start incorporating playing outside with your pet or children or grandchildren. My second tip is to keep an activity log, both to keep track and to give yourself credit for your progress. Keeping a record of your physical activity on a calendar or an app in your phone can be really beneficial. You want to write down what you did, the number of minutes that you did it, and how you felt before and after getting it done. That can also be really motivating if you're having days where you just don't feel like it. You can kind of look back and go, "Oh, okay, I wasn't feeling like it before, but it felt really good when I was done." Finding a partner or a coach, hint, hint, right? It's always easier to exercise with somebody or have a friend or coworker who also wants to get active with you, or join a walking group like the one I have on Thursday mornings here from 6:30 to 7:10. You can also join an exercise class or a swimming club, something like that, to help you partner up and stay accountable. Maybe you want to try taking up a new activity. Consider trying out an activity that's always appealed to you, or it could be anything from salsa dancing to swimming to yoga to gardening, making sure to choose an exercise that suits your personality and your lifestyle. A little bit of a personal story: when I was 20 years old, I decided to join an adult beginners ballet class. I had never danced in my life. I have 2 left feet, but I thought it would be a nice, fun way to incorporate some alternative activity. I learned a lot of things about poise, grace, and control that I did not have, but it was a really cool new thing to try, and it offered me and my body a little bit of a different way to work out. Keeping it fun is so important. So if you're a social person, put on those dancing shoes or lace up the ballet slippers. If you're not as social, try playing the music in your earbuds just as well, when you're trying to work out and keep something fun. Always pat yourself on the back. When starting a new activity or exercise, it can be so easy to be self-conscious, or maybe feel like everybody's watching us, or that you're not very good at the activity. but give yourself credit for anything that you try. Going out of your comfort zone and trying something new deserves to be celebrated. And the more you do it, the better you'll get. And then taking it slow, gradually build up to a longer, more vigorous exercise session. So when people come to me for coaching, I tend to tell them, don't jump in with a goal of an hour a day, 5 days a week. It's just not realistic. Jump in with a smaller goal, something is more realistic, maybe walking for 15 minutes or, hopping on your bike for 15 minutes or whatever it is, and then build up from there. And trying to make physical activity a part of your day, just so it becomes habitual, like brushing your teeth and eating your breakfast. It's an important part of taking care of ourselves, and the more routine we do it, the easier it is to get it done. So how much is enough? There's obviously tons of blanket recommendations out there, but when it comes to physical activity and how much is appropriate, we really should dial in. So a lot of us have preschool or preschool age kids or young kids, children and adolescents. This slide speaks to that. All of the guidelines that I'm about to present to you come from the most recent updated CDC guidelines. So preschool age children, they should really be physically active throughout the day. Children 6 to 17 years old should do about an hour of moderate to vigorous activity daily. So that would be on a 1 to 10 scale. That would be anywhere between a 5 and a 10. Predominantly aerobic activity, so that heart pumping activity. So what about adults? The recommendation is for 2.5 hours a week, up to 5 hours a week of moderate intensity activity. So a scale like a 5 or 6 on a scale of 10, or 75 to 150 minutes of high intensity activity, right? So if we think about 2.5 hours a week, that's 30 minutes a day. That's really not that much if we consider all the time in our day. Now, we may have to talk about time management to fit it into the schedule, but really it's not that much. So these are obviously for substantial health benefits, right? If you're working on incorporating activity, even gearing up and building up to that is still beneficial than not doing any activity. As for older adults, as a part of the weekly routine, they should do multi-component physical activity that includes both balance training as well as aerobic and muscle strengthening activities. And they should work to determine the level of effort for physical activity related to their level of fitness or ability. When they can't do 150 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic activity because of health conditions, the goal here is just to be as physically active as they can and as their conditions allow. So it's a little bit different for pregnancy and postpartum. 150 minutes of moderate intensity activity weekly. Women who habitually engaged in vigorous intensity activity prior to being pregnant can continue those activities during pregnancy and postpartum, which is excellent. And those individuals with chronic health conditions or disabilities, if they're able to, the goal is 150 minutes a week, if not as much as they can do relative to their condition. So this is something I celebrate with my clients and my patients a lot. Act like a kid again. Here's your permission slip. So sometimes thinking back to the activities we loved as a kid can help us find the fun in physical activity, right? A lot of us think about, oh, exercise, just one more thing I have to do. But what if we made it fun? What if it was playing hopscotch or playing tag or riding your bike or swinging on the swings? Even if you have to do it in the early morning hours so nobody sees you, that truly is something fun. So thinking about like, what did you love? And if you want to drop it in the chat and say, what did you love from childhood? What was your favorite physical activity? I would love to hear that. So I'm going to drop mine in the chat. Michelle says swings for sure. I loved the swings. I also loved riding my bike. Ooh, Barb says gymnastics. I loved gymnastics too as a kid. But finding those activities again, the monkey bars. Yes, Lauren. Oh my gosh, my hands would get so sweaty from using the monkey bars. these are all things that we could engage in again. Now, we may not be as good as we once were, but hey, we're just starting somewhere. If you loved playing tag, find some friends or recruit your kids or your grandkids and run around like kids again, right? Or how about riding your bike or your scooter around the neighborhood? Someone riding on your handlebars is totally optional and probably a lot more safe these days, right? Or maybe if you're like me, when I had a bike as a kid, I had pegs on the back and my brothers would hop on or my friends. So and like I said earlier, come join me, your Cigna health coach, weekly. I lead a walking class from 6:30 to 7:10 in the morning every Thursday. We meet right outside the Wellness Center at 400 South Fort Harrison, right here in the downtown Clearwater complex. You do have to have the Wellness Center orientation. So if you've not already had the Wellness Center orientation, go ahead and contact me using the email address I dropped in the chat earlier. I will drop it again right now in case you don't have my email address. But contact me. I will get you in touch with the right person who can set you up with Wellness Center orientation. I would love to have you at the walking class. We walk right over here in the beautiful Harbor Oaks neighborhood. All the facilities are open in the morning, so you can get in there, take a shower, and get to your desk before you've got to be there. So it's just such a fun group. And I know some of the people who are on this class have come to the walking group and have really enjoyed it. So let's take a little bit of a look ahead, shall we? So a little bit of extra. If you open up your workbook to page 38, it's going to help you design a physical activity action plan. So help you assess where you are right now with your physical activity and where you want to go and the steps that you're going to take to get there. I would love to walk through that with you. If you want somebody to look over it or brainstorm it with you, please reach out. I'm absolutely here for this. And then next week, looking ahead to week 5 of our 7-week series, we're going to be talking about developing mindfulness. So that'll be next Friday, the 14th at 12:30. We're going to be looking together at developing a deeper understanding of mindfulness, fostering that inner connection and self-awareness, implementing relaxation techniques, and reviewing emotional awareness. So I am, again, just so thrilled that, so many of you are here with me, hanging out week after week to, learn how to manage your stress. It's not easy, but you're not alone. And learning the tools that you have here will absolutely help. So with that, I am going to stop the recording